Eric Galko, East West Shrine Game. He runs it and also locked into the draft that starts tomorrow evening. And he joins us on 365 Sports. Who is the one player that could wreak havoc and chaos on the first round?
Well, I think it could be whoever the Jacksonville Jaguars take with the fifth overall pick. I don't think I know that they are the one team that every other team in the league has not a great sense of who they're taking. And I think we've seen the ebbs and flows over the last few weeks and months of, oh, they're definitely taking Mason Graham, and now everyone's on, they're taking Ashton Genty with their fifth overall pick. I will tell you, I think I have, maybe some idea who they might take, but I think there's a lot of other picks in the top 10, 12 picks overall that other teams feel it's this guy or this guy. For the Jaguars, it could be any number of guys too. So if they go someone like Ted McMillan at number 5, the receiver from Arizona, that's going to have a cascading effect of the top 13, 14 picks.
So with Cohen and Gladstone now running the ship, does that change who they have been? They made the changes for a reason, obviously.
Yeah, James Gladstone's an incredibly smart. He's the director of scouting strategy for the Rams. Incredibly smart person, incredibly smart executive now. He's just 34 years old. So, a 33-year-old like me feels pretty old nowadays with a guy like him being GM. But he is as smart as they come, and also come from the Rams, who have been one of, if not the quietest teams in sharing who they may draft, and also a team that has thought very independently. The Rams have had no problem drafting some of the highest non-combine guys in the last 5 to 10 years. They've taken running backs early. They've taken a lot of offensive linemen early. They've created their first-round picks, and they've really, done a lot of things under the cloud of silence. So that's a big reason why I think the Jaguars being in this really unique spot, having him and Liam Cohen, two younger guys at the helm, a team that looks at analytics a lot, but also a team that can go a whole bunch of directions. That's why they're a fascinating team to watch this draft weekend. And they won't be drafting a quarterback. They've got that guy, but every one of their picks, I think, will be super interesting and maybe a bit off the wall, what the people are expecting.
Is there any doubt Tennessee takes Cam Ward?
Tennessee will take Cam Moore with the first overall pick, and Travis Hunter will be the second pick in the draft. I think most people feel that's going to be how it's going to fall.
Travis Hunter at 2, the Colorado everything. He does it all. Will that be the Browns, or will that be somebody else?
A good question. I think it'll be, the Browns make a lot of sense for Travis in a whole bunch of ways, but he is the only blue chip guy, and he is as blue chip as they come for non-quarterbacks in the draft that I think it's not surprising or unrealistic to see a team trade a couple of top 100 picks, maybe even a future first to go get him. And I think the Browns have more than just a need at receiver / corner. And I think the Browns have been and will be certainly open to it. So, me personally, I think Travis is a special person and player. He's a team leader. He's an identity builder as a team. And I think it'd be, in my opinion, take a lot to not take Travis Hunter. But I think it's certainly going to be in play with a talent like him and how many teams agree with me that he's a pretty special guy.
Eric, the clock is ticking on Brian Daboll and the Giants and the structure and who they are and what they've been. They gotta have a spark here, but do they make a pick that is for today, for this year, or can they afford to make a pick of what's best in the long run for the Giants?
Well, I think for one, they've got an ownership group that is always thinking long term and also giving their ownership or their head coach and GM a lot of say decision making. So it's a really interesting split there on what the Giants may do. And hey, I'm biased. So I think Shedeur Sanders should be the pick. I think he, similar to Travis Hunter, not only solves a need and a long-term question, but helps build an identity for a team that maybe could really use a new direction forward. So I'm hoping he's the pick. Maybe the Giants can be, one of the first teams in a long time to trade back and still take a quarterback. I'm not sure that's really feasible when you're looking at a franchise quarterback like Shedeur Sanders, but I'm hopeful they take him. And I think most people believe around the league that it will be Shedeur Sanders or Abdul Carter with the third overall pick, with a small chance that they trade back and still take Shedeur Sanders too. So, I think if I'm the Giants, I'm taking Shedeur Sanders and let's move forward with him as our guy for the future. But the Giants are still going to be open-minded about, can we take Abdul Carter and get a quarterback later? But no doubt that I think the Giants will take a quarterback within the first 32 picks of the draft. Will it be Shedeur Sanders at 3, Shedeur Sanders at somewhere else, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, who knows?
I was going to ask you, if Shedeur's not the number 2 overall quarterback selected, who would be the others in the mix? And you mentioned, obviously, Jackson Dart. And the Tyler Shuck thing has really, really kind of picked up. He's a veteran guy, been around, has had some injuries. Why is it that he has become like this unique story in the quarterback group?
Yeah, I mean, I would say as of today, I think he will be the third quarterback taken in the draft class, and I've told many people and teams too when we invited the Shrine Bowl quarterbacks the first in October, our top four guys confidently were Shadur Sanders, Cam Ward, Tyler Shuck, and then Kyle McCord. And I think Tyler's always been, one of the three or four best quarterbacks in this class. And, his age and his injury history, that's where the kind of questions come. Is he a first round guy? But we saw a year ago, Bo Nix,
Yep.
25-year-old rookie, played a lot of games, no injury stuff, but played a lot of games, had a great season. Goes to the Broncos, felt like a reach, had a great rookie season. There's a lot of similarities between Bo Nix and Tyler Shuck, and certainly the recency bias of Bo Nix and then no one else until like Brandon Whedon before him being as old of a player. But it worked for Bo Nix. Maybe a team like the Saints or the Browns, the Giants says, hey, this could be our Bo Nix, and let's get him right now.
If Ashton Genty is picked, will it be to the Bears at 10, or are they going to have to move up to get him, or will somebody else steal him?
I think he makes a lot of sense for the Bears. I think if you're the Bears and you feel he's one of your blue chip players, if not your top blue chip guy, they're a team that feels they're not far away. They certainly, have Ben Johnson. Ryan Pohl's been there for a while. They feel like they're close. They are close, I believe. So if you feel that Ashton Genty is a missing piece, maybe going up a couple picks can make a lot of sense. I think Genty's a pretty special player, but my gut tells me that they can sit at 10 and still get Ashton Genty too, would kind of be have him and DeAndre Swift be their version of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery that Ben Johnson had back in Detroit too. So I think they'll stay put to 10 and still get Ashton Genty.
Jerry had a press conference. Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, Will McClay, and Coach Schottenheimer. Of course, the teams do that as the draft is coming up, and they love to have their name on the clock. They love to be the story. They need players too. It's a different deal now with Schottenheimer. You hear about the wide receivers, whether it's Tedero McMillan or if it's Matthew Golden. Where do you see them? Do you think they're not one that moves up very often? Most of the time they move down and then get an extra pick and then somebody else. Your thoughts about Dallas at 12?
Yeah, I think they've gone offensive line in the past and it's treated them pretty well. I think adding a guy who can play guard or center, maybe they kick Cooper Beebe back to guard where he's played in his college career. They certainly have two tackles they like quite a bit too. So I think offensive line and maybe a name to watch. I'll be surprised, but I think it's probably the ceiling that he goes. But he's going to be in play as Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. FCS, the 12th pick in the draft would be pretty crazy, but can make a little bit of sense. And then maybe Kelvin Banks, if he's there, a guy who's played left tackle, can maybe move side to left guard and be their left guard of the future and push Cooper Beebe to the right side or staying at center. But I think Matthew Golden makes a lot of sense. And even if you don't feel that Matthew Golden is an obvious game-changing player, I actually think he's a better fit alongside CeeDee Lamb than Ted McMillan would be. And I think he adds that speed element that we saw the Chiefs a year ago look at Xavier Worthy and just, hey, even if he's not getting the ball every time, you've got to account for him. And it opens up so much more of the offense horizontally because if he's in motion or if he's doing a go ball or you're getting the ball on one screen, it opens up your other receivers, your running game, your tight ends. I think he solves a lot of scheme-based problems that the Cowboys had a year ago, I think more than Ted McMillan. And I think for that reason, he makes a lot of sense for Dallas. And again, if he's not going 12, he's going somewhere in the teams. Matthew Golden as well, too, so he's not a reach. So my gut would be Gray Zabel or Matthew Golden make a lot of sense for the Cowboys. And I think if it's Golden, Cowboys fans should be excited.
Eric Galko, East-West Shrine Bowl with us on 365 Sports. There's no doubt Travis Hunter would be the ultimate versatility, multi-dimensional guy. But where is Tyler Warren, the tight end at Penn State, when it comes to being that Swiss Army knife type of player? Is he a top half of the first-round guy?
Yes, 100%. And I don't think he gets out of the top 10 picks. I would say that, if you're Chicago, you're looking for an offensive weapon, it'd be Ashton Genty or Tyler Warren. I think the New York Jets at 7 make a lot of sense. I could see a team like the Bears, maybe the Colts trading up to get Tyler Warren, maybe even the Saints to get a guy like him because he can be a real impact player for these teams. And I think Colson Loveland's the best tight end in the draft. I think both guys are really, really good. I think Loveland and Warren are two, after Brock Bowers, probably two of the best prospects at tight ends we've seen in the last couple of years. And that's where NFL teams kind of view him as well, especially in a draft class that doesn't have as many blue chip guys. I said earlier, just Travis Hunter and maybe Abdul Carter are those only blue chip guys. Everyone else in that second tier. That's why I think you'll see the Jets or Bears or Colts take Tyler Warren, move up for Tyler Warren, but he's going to go in the top 14, 15 picks and probably in the top 10, if not the top 7.
So is this going to be a first round because of so many unknowns? Well, it's been thought of as it's going to be a massive amount of trades. And some are like that. Depends on the year, depends on the players, depends on the depth of the draft. Do you see this as one that's going to be a bunch of trades, or do you feel like that's being a little bit I guess, discussed?
Yeah, I don't think there'll be a lot from picks. Once we get past the top 15, 16, I think we'll see maybe one until the very end of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I think that 15 to 25, 26 will be pretty dead. And then 26 down, you maybe get a team trading up for one of the last remaining linemen, maybe one of the quarterbacks. But I think that the more than even being reported, the second and third pick in the draft being traded is going to be in the mix because, as I said, we've got maybe two blue chip players, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. So if you're, the Jaguars or Patriots or someone else who feels Travis Hunter is attainable and I cannot give up the whole cupboard to get him, that's in play. If you're a team like the Niners who feels that, hey, we may be never picking here again at the top 11. Let's go get Abdul Carter, or the Dolphins who feel like they're close. Maybe they're on the, their front office, maybe looking to make a bold move as well, too. So I think after pick 2 and 3, when Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter off the board, I think we'll see a lot of teams stay put. I think maybe back end of 1, we'll see a trade up. But the two teams I'd watch the back end of round 1, the Chiefs, the Eagles, both want to be aggressive for guys. Outside of those two teams, it'll be a pretty quiet trade draft process once we get back the first 3 picks.
Other than Genty, will Hampton, Judkins, or even Iowa's Johnston, will they be first round or at least in the top 40 picks of the draft?
I think we'll see 3 running backs go in the first, Genty, Hampton, and Travion Henderson. I feel fairly confident in that. Yeah, fairly confident too. And then Judkins, I think, is the only one in the second round. And we've seen the last few years, teams have devalued running back. Not saying they don't have value, but they're saying, hey, we're not taking guys on day 1 or day 2 if we can help it. A lot of guys on day 3. So I think we'll see maybe a couple, maybe 1, maybe 2 go in round 2. Maybe 4 or 5 in the top 2 rounds. We'll see a couple go in the back end of 3, and then a lot in 4 and 5. So for those college football fans who think a lot of good running backs in this class, there are a lot of good running backs, but don't be surprised if round 4, round 5 is when the big run goes versus the top 100 picks.
Does everybody have their board set by the time they go to bed tonight if they do sleep?
I think the teams have their scout coaches input boards done really by the middle of last week. What happens after that is really 3 big things. One is talking to the doctors. That happens after the board is set, so they're not biased by it. And they say, hey, doc, who's a green? Good to go. Who's a yellow? We should keep it in mind and talk about it more. Who's a red? Off the board. And that happens usually Thursday, Friday of last week. And then between that Thursday, Friday, and really up to like yesterday, even today, it's strategy meetings. Hey, we like these players. We got this need. Where's the best move to get him? Hey, if you're the New York Giants, is it Shadur at 3? And then this guy in round 2, this guy in round 3? Or is it, Abdul Carter at 1 and at 3, and then second, third round is someone different at quarterback? So and that's what these teams are going through now, these scenarios, and then calling and getting a sense of trades. You'd be surprised. I think a lot of trades discussions that are crystallized don't happen until this evening or tomorrow morning because teams are trying to assess value first before calling and making a trade and kind of showing their hand too much. So I think if there's going to be some trades, all those trades are going to talk in advance, but that doesn't happen until really this evening or tomorrow about who they want to take. But certainly teams know who they like in the draft as of last week.
I know you've got a big meeting coming up this afternoon, and that's why we recorded this earlier. We wanted to get your expertise. We appreciate it. How much is the night before the draft for someone like you who has been a part of it for so long?
It's exciting. I think that what's changed for me from when I did a bit more media stuff to now is I've become an agent ambassador at times to the 130-ish guys that come to the Shrine Bowl every year. So the draft has changed from a lot of excitement to a little bit of an anxiety, whether it's, see where my guy Shadur Sanders goes, to thinking about where the guys that are really on the fringe of the draft may end up going. And certainly I keep myself busy and trying to help people, teams, agents, whoever, get a sense how the draft might go and help teams and people assess value. But it's turned a bit more anxious than fun, but hopefully we have a good draft class for the Shrine Bowl. And it's a fun Friday, Saturday for me as well, too. But it's no doubt still busy, and I wouldn't have any other way.
Thank you, buddy. Great to have you on, Eric. I know you're busy. Thanks for your time. Eric Galko, East West Shrine Bowl. This is 365 Sports.